If you look at all the top videos on this channel, you would all see they have some version of how to win back your wife's love. And it makes sense. Most wives tell their husbands the same 11 words when they are done for good. I love you, but I'm no longer in love with you. So most men wrongly assume if I just find a way to make her fall in love again, she'll come back. It's like a key opening a lock. However, what most men don't know is that it was never a lack of love that caused her to leave, ask for space, or even divorce. It was a lack of another emotion entirely. And I'm going to prove to you today that trying to win back her love is in fact the nail in the coffin that's going to cause divorce every single time. I'm going to show you why this is, how sacrifice equals a loss of love, the emotion that she biologically needs to feel from a man instead, and how to get it back using the 4 C's method. Let's jump into the first principle, which is love equals sacrifice. Now, we often think giving more of ourselves is what restores love, but most men don't realize that, man, when she stopped loving you, you started giving her something that you no longer had. Let me explain. When my client Mark's wife pulled away, it wasn't some dramatic moment. It happened like it does for most men. Death by 1,000 cuts. There was less attraction over time. There were shorter answers, more bitterness, lack of that passion, 2 roommates passing through the night. But Mark didn't panic. He did what most guys would do in the situation, which you probably did too. He tried to love her harder, show her he cared more. He stopped going to the gym to spend more time at home. He stopped bringing things up that caused her friction. He over-explained his intentions. He apologized sometimes without even knowing what for. And he told himself, if I just show her how much I truly care about her, she'll feel safe again. She'll love me more. And so he kept on giving and giving and giving. More patience, more understanding, more self-sacrifice. However, something strange happened. It seemed like the more he gave, the colder and more despondent she became. I mean, the more he tried, the more distant she felt. But why does this happen? I mean, are women just cruel? No. Let me explain. Imagine that you have all these pieces of yourself and you were a full man when she met you. And she still loved you a lot despite what you were doing. But over time, you're giving away pieces of yourself until there's nothing left to give. And now she sees a shell of the man that she once fell for. And I'm not talking about the external things you have that you created in the family. I'm talking about your essence, your manhood, your masculine energy. In fact, there's something called the 90-10 rule that I recently identified. Let me show you through this graph. This will explain why no matter what you do logically, it'll never work and she'll never receive it because of this filter theory. So let's say these are different emotions that she needs from you. And let's say the last one is love. And I'll say like a spiritual love, because love is such a vast emotion. We think it's like one emotion, right? Like, oh, it's just love. But yet you can love your shoes and you can love playing soccer and you can love your grandma and you can love your mom, but those are all different feelings. You see what I mean? So let's call the love you're trying to get back with her spiritual love. So I want you to think of it like this, that you cannot have a spiritual love with a woman unless you first have a committed, intimate, and passionate love. And you cannot create committed love until she feels passionate and vice versa. So basically, as you're going throughout this, you need to have one filter before you go to the next. And what most men are trying to do is that they're trying to get back to spiritual love, but she feels no passion for you anymore. A woman cannot biologically feel intimacy or commitment or even spiritual love until the first gate of passion is unlocked with this emotion, okay? So no matter how much you try to say, like, what about all these memories and all the promises, and what about this and these commitments and plans, and she will not accept that filter of that connection with you and that love until you first bypass this first gate of passion. And this is the idea that 90% you feel like you can have it all right here, that you have all this history together and these promises and you know everything about her, but yet if she doesn't have this 10% of the passion, none of this matters, okay? Now the next principle is going to show you what you need to create with her in order for her to feel the passion and attraction, desire again. And that feeling is respect. Now, respect is one of the greatest expressions of love. So why is respect so important? Look, in order for a woman to be with a man, she must feel safe with him. And a woman cannot biologically feel safe with a man she doesn't respect or esteem. Okay, I want you to think of the idea of respect is that you are someone that she can look up to. That is, you are whole in yourself. I'm going to break this down pretty succinctly and practically with a framework and how you develop this within yourself and how you lost it. But I just want you to understand the idea that from your wife's perspective, when she thinks of you, when she looks at you, she sees a man and she knows who he is. She looks up to him. He is competent. He is capable independently of her. And if you've seen through plenty of my videos, a lot of men, when she starts to pull away, the wife loses complete respect of how you acted. For example, with Mark that I talked about, he thought like most men, erroneously, that if I just sacrifice more, if I just gave more of myself away, if I just compromise my values and my boundaries and who I am as a man, that sacrifice will show how much I care. as much as you are trying harder, it had the opposite effect because you were giving away the last bit of things she needed in you in order for her to respect you, okay? You were essentially emptying yourself when you were already empty. It showed codependence. And the biggest marker that you have this codependence is, well, her search for validation, you're supplicating, but you feel so much anxiety and terror and panic as she's leaving you. And as much as it's healthy to have some amount of stress that you're losing the woman that you love, obviously, I get that. Okay, I'm not minimizing that. To the degree at which I see most men have, it is to the point where they show it's a high level of codependence, where a healthy response looks completely differently. Yes, you can be sad, you can want to work on things, but it's all about a middle ground, a healthy middle ground, right? And a lot of men, they fluctuate way over to the hyper anxiety with needy nice guy behaviors. All right, so let's talk about how to restore respect with the 4 C's. Now, the first C is to create calmness. Now, the way men screw this up is they either dismiss, they shut down, or they react and get angry. All 3 of these are a type of reaction, but reaction is like getting angry. Okay, so your energy either goes in your head to try to logically think of things, right? It goes completely inward where you just shut down and you're just apathetic, or you bring the energy outward and you attack her. Okay, the right place to bring your energy and your focus is into her. All right, I want you to start to think of 2 analogies that are really going to help you here to autocorrect this. The first analogy is you are the shore to her ocean, meaning in her feminine state, her emotions can change vastly. Like you look at the water, you go to the ocean, and if it's a nice day, beautiful day, you'll see the ocean caressing the shore. It's nice, it's friendly, it's loving, it's happy, it's joyful. That's beautiful. That's nice and easy, right? But the weather changes as much as your wife's emotions change. Things happen in life with you or with her life in general. And when the winds of her emotions start to crash against the shore, and if you retreat, you're not being stable. Therefore, you're not safe. When she comes to you, just like with Mark, and every time his wife would come to him with a negative emotion, whether it was about him or about work, he would just try to get her to like logically just dismantle, okay, you don't have to feel this way because of this X, Y, and Z. She comes and she says, hey, Vicky at work, she doesn't respect me. I just don't feel like I'm valued at work. I just really want to quit my job. A lot of men, they'll go into logic and they'll try to fix your problems. I know you have good intentions when you do that because you want your wife to be happy, but ultimately she's not seeking solutions. She's seeking connection. Okay. In her feminine paradigm, she wants to connect with you, which means you don't say, well, you should go find another job. You should talk to your coworkers. You should do this. You should do that. What she's looking for is for you to be like, damn, Vicky does not respect you. That sucks. Or that's just really hard. I don't know how you deal with that. And she says, yeah, exactly, because of X, Y, and Z. And now she feels connected to you, you see? And a lot of men don't understand that their reactivity of dismissing her or shutting down is their own ability, your own ability, to sit with her negative emotions. Because you don't have an ability of emotional competence yourself to sit with your own emotions, you tend to repress them in others subconsciously. As an example, with myself growing up, I hated when people got angry. I couldn't deal with conflict myself, right? And because I never wanted to get angry, I didn't have a healthy expression of anger myself. When other people got angry or heated, I would try to calm them down. Now, it turned out great because it made me become a therapist, but I had to learn how to step into conflict and embrace it and allow people to express their emotions of anger and being reactive without shutting them down, okay, to create my own internal safety within myself. And that's how you create this calmness, is being able to sit with her emotions more by first sitting with your own emotions. Now, we have a lot of skills how to do this in our program, but ultimately, when your emotions arise, you don't retreat. You let them wash over you and recognize that in those emotions, there is vital information. It's trying to teach you something about yourself, about the situation. And by trying to logically dismantle it or dismiss it, you're not learning a valuable lesson about yourself or about her when these emotions arise. The second analogy is thinking that you are this magnet in her and she is in a storm. When a woman is in her dysregulated state, right, her nervous system is haywire, she's freaking out. If you can be that anchor, it's almost as if you just like let the storm calm down and she kind of gravitates toward you. And that's what attraction is, right? Her coming toward you. And so I just want you to recognize the way you practically do this is by breathing deeply, looking at her in one eye, recognizing that you're relaxed and open in your body posture. Just being mindful of not retreating into your own head and keeping your stable state and breathing deeply and looking at her one eye, no matter what emotions she's experiencing, no matter how hard it is, it gets easier over time and she becomes more safe with you. The second C here is certainty. Now, a lot of men think that they're making it easier on their wife, that they don't lead all the time, or they don't give her certainty of direction. I'm just making it easier on her. I'll let her choose, right? Because oftentimes you don't want to choose. But to a woman, that creates frustration and confusion and a lack of safety. You have to recognize that women, by their default nature, they want to follow. Now, I know a lot of women and a lot of wives will say of guys in the program, you don't know my wife, Josh. She's a leader. She's type A. She wants to lead. She does this by default, maybe at work. And maybe she brings that home. But I am telling you that if you start proactively leading, she will start to follow, and it will shift the whole dynamic back to the way it's supposed to be, where she will feel safe with you. She is leading because she's recognized that she can't rely on you to lead. And there are two ways to lead in the relationship more successfully. There's a macro leadership way and a micro leadership way. The macro leadership way says this: where are you going in the relationship? You have to start viewing your relationship like you are the captain of a ship. Okay, and she is one of the crew members. So is your family if you have kids. On the ship as the captain, you are always setting the course. You must know where you're going. But a lot of guys, as soon as they got married to their wife, oh, she's part of the crew, we can just coast. I can go to this other ship of work and focus my attention there and drive that. But you must be able to balance every domain of your life. A true apex man, a man she wants to follow, knows all the key domains of his life and where he's going, not just with his finance and career, but where in the relationship. How do you want to feel with your wife? How do you want your days to look like day by day with her? How are you guys growing as a couple? Are you guys taking sex classes? Are you guys going to relationship workshops? What are you doing in that domain? How are you leading your own health? Have you let yourself go over the years for whatever reason? How are you leading your spiritual nature of your life, whatever that means to you? Contributing to society, leaving a legacy, right? How are you being of service to others? And how are you leading your own emotions? Having this certainty about where you're going in your life, it takes energy. But most people are asleep. You aren't most people. You're a man trying to better himself right now, listening to me. So keep on taking action in that direction. Know where you want to take your life, right? Don't coast. That's where evil comes from, complacency, letting things go. And so this is a wake-up call for you to say, okay, where do I want my life in these 5 key domains? My finance and career, my relationships, not just with my wife, with my family, with my friends, my mental and emotional health, my physical health, and then finally, my legacy, my spiritual contribution to society. If you can clearly identify where you're going in this vast life that you have, this one life and your vision of who you want to be as a man, that's the macro leadership. It creates certainty and confidence in her towards you. And she's able to let go and follow your lead. And thus you can influence her more often when you start to take actions towards that domain. And on the micro level, it's just about making more decisions day by day. How are you leading day by day? Are you making the small decisions about where you guys want for dinner? You know, what college are the kids going to go to? Where are you going to go on vacation? How are you all these little micro decisions? If you start to adopt the identity that you are a leader and you have more confidence and certainty around that, that shows her that she can relax. And another key domain that a lot of guys miss when it comes to leadership and creating confidence is that when there's conflict, you know how to guide her out of it. Now, we have a whole great video resource at the end of this one on communication that I will give you. So stay tuned for that. But that's another form of leadership that really helps her understand that you are the leader in the relationship and she wants to follow you. The third C is corrective communication. Now, the way I want you to think of communication is that it's the medium in which needs are expressed and met. Okay, that's all it is. A lot of people think my wife and I fell apart because we don't know how to communicate. That is true, but that is a symptom of the deeper root problems. But you still have to learn how to communicate effectively to not only, communication is one of those things where it's simple but not easy. In that there are basic first principles that if you follow these first principles when it comes to communication, it is easy. The hard part is identifying your needs successfully, identifying her needs, and then vulnerably expressing those in a way that is calm and assertive, not aggressive and not passive. And so that's where the complications come in because all the emotions intertwined with this simple process. So I'm going to give you a powerful visual and then a powerful reframe that's going to help you have corrective communication. The first is the quote, seek first to understand, then be understood. A lot of men, when there's a problem in communication and they hear their wife criticizing, they go into defense mode. Instead of identifying that a criticism is a request in disguise. Every complaint she has, there's some underlying need she's trying to get met. That as the man, you can lead to understand what that need is and then meet it for her instead of getting defensive and trying to dismantle how she's feeling. So I'll visualize this for you, okay? I want you to look here. Okay, so look at these stairs. Now your wife is on the bottom rung and you are on the top rung, right? And in the situation when you guys are communicating, she's saying, look, I don't see the light. Like I see this problem right here and it's right in front of my face. And that's because in her visual, she cannot see the sun where she is at in her perspective of things. You, on the other hand, you're way up here and you're saying, look, just see the way I see things. If you just came up to my perspective, then you would see that the sun is right there. The problem can be solved. You can press the button. You can figure this thing out if you just saw the way I saw. What you have to understand about people and the way emotions work in women is that you must seek first to go down to her level. You must go down to her level stand next to her side by side and say, oh, I see that there's this giant block in the way that you can't see. You feel this way because of this reason. I get it. And she's like, yeah, you see the way I see, right? It's like you're next to her. You're looking at the same thing. It doesn't mean you agree with her. It means I see what you see. I understand you. And so what happens when someone feels understood, they feel punctuated, which means their emotions settle. They can see more calmly, and then she's more likely to come up to your level and see from your perspective. And as the man in the relationship, you are leading by seeing her perspective first, and then she sees your perspective, okay? Especially if she's the one that's getting emotional. But a lot of guys, they'll try to drag her up to their side of things first without making her feel understood. And there is no amount of, I don't care how brilliant you are we've had lawyers and doctors and brilliant people in our program, but for whatever reason, they cannot logically convince their wife because it's just like, round hole, square peg, no matter how much you try to convince her. But if you understand that conflict resolution is a natural byproduct of connection, that you can solve any problem when you connect with her first, then what you will do is you'll shift your perspective of trying to logically dismantle what she's feeling to then understanding what she's feeling, and then she's more likely to see your perspective. That's the way it works, okay? Think of it like this. In the beginning of the relationship, and you guys were like just deeply in love. You guys, oh my gosh, and there was a conflict about something. It didn't matter how different you guys felt about the thing. If you were deeply in love with each other and connected, she'll be like, you know what? I see what you see. She's softer. She's willing to like not be so dug in with her heels on how she views this thing because of how connected you are. So connection always comes first when it comes to communication. And so if you learn how to validate her emotions, understand the way she's feeling, reflect that back to her, you can solve any problem in communication. The fourth C is circumventing connection. Now with this one, by the way, all these four C's are connected. If you can't see, like creating calmness, that happens within the context of communication. Sort of certainty, so is this last one, but these are all different skills you develop. Let me tell you a story. I went to go to a training with these top practitioners on polarity. Polarity is the idea of creating masculine and feminine dynamics in a relationship and what it looks like for a man to embody healthy masculinity to create safety in a woman non-verbally. So for 4 days, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, I did these practices of just embodying masculine presence in my body. That's it. And I got direct feedback, harsh feedback from all the women practitioners there who were experts in their own field on how to adjust my own nonverbal presentation. And I learned a lot. Even though I'm an expert at this, I still got valuable feedback. The reason I'm telling you this story is because I know if I was a fly on the wall watching you communicate with your wife, you are subtly doing these things that are making you feel disconnected with her, or she feels that from you. Okay. A small example of this is the way you breathe. Okay. When you are looking at her in the eyes and she's talking to you, if you have a shallow breath, she can sense that anxiety. If you don't make strong eye contact with her and have that presence with her, she senses that disconnection as well. If you are shut inward in your body, if you're not open up in your chest, if you're not sitting straight, if you are not having an open heart, she feels that. Okay. These are all ways of subtly you're disconnecting from her non-verbally, which is way more powerful than any words you can say. I can give you I can be in your ear with your wife during communication and tell you the exact words to say. But if you are not embodying and circumventing connection the right way through your non-verbals, your eye contact correctly, the way you breathe, the way you hold yourself, she will feel disconnected from you every single time. And this is why it is so powerful to get on a free call with our marriage evaluators, because we could tell not just through your whole history about what actions you need to take moving forward based on thousands of examples, but even the way you embody yourself and how your wife feels. Our marriage evaluators will say, look, if I was your wife right now, a lot of them are women, our marriage evaluators, they can tell you, I would feel this way. And it's such valuable feedback because your wife oftentimes won't give you that direct, honest feedback. She just feels the disconnect and then pulls away. But if you recognize that you can create calmness like the first C and then understand that correct framework and how to embody these nonverbal emotions to feel connected to her, I'm saving it for last because it is the most powerful skill if you understand this intimately. That when you can be able to calm yourself down in communication with her, in conflict especially, or having these difficult conversations, but you know how to have confidence and certainty around creating that calmness and circumventing that connection and tying all of these C's together, she cannot deny that you are a new self, okay? Let me give you a small example from that training about how powerful this is. Now, I got a lot of positive feedback from the women at the program and how I was able to hold myself, but just subtly from multiple women, I heard the same theme, that I leaned in a little bit too much, that I was being performative in the way I was holding eye contact. And it is so subtle, but there are little things that you are doing that is screwing up the connection, that when you can really hone this in and master it, I am telling you, it doesn't matter what words you say to her. You become a new man, and she senses that immediately. And it is the most powerful thing that you can learn. Now, we teach this. You can learn it yourself if you would like. Of course, setting up a free call, making sure that you're fully invested in making change. Now, the best way to get this as fast as possible is to set up that call. But other than that, start to become aware of your own breathing patterns when you're with her. Start to become aware if you do have your body posture shut down. A lot of guys, we hold tension in our shoulders and our neck and our back. Are you relaxed when you're with her? I know you're not, okay? When it comes to her being upset. And so starting to create that either on your own or through our program is the quickest way to get the best results that she could shift that you are changing as a man. Now, if you want to pair that change with the right verbal frameworks and when she tests you, that is this video right here on tests. You should click here right now and watch. There's also a guy that saved his marriage right here on the brink of divorce that I highly recommend you check out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.